Hi everybody, we're going to go through 3 problems together right now to get you guys ready for your test tomorrow. It would be a good idea if you had your notes out and you would do these along with me. First thing to look at on this one is whether there is a GCF. So we have 3x squared plus 7x minus 6. If you're not sure, make the factor trees for each one. But when I look at this, I notice that this last term doesn't have a variable, so I know there's no variable that can come out of all 3 of those terms. I also know that factors of 7 are only 1 and 7, and that doesn't work. 7 doesn't go into negative 6 or 3. So if there's no GCF, that means we need to make the X box. So A times C, so 3 times negative 6 goes up top. So that's negative 18. And then 7 goes in the bottom. So we have to find 2 numbers that multiply to be negative 18, but they add up to be 7. If you're not sure, make the factor pairs list for 18. So 1 times 18, 2 times 9, 3 times 6, and then 4 doesn't work, and 5 doesn't work. So here are our sets. The only way I can get 7 is if I use 2 and 9. Because they have to multiply to be a negative number, one of these guys has to be negative. Because this number right here is positive, that means the bigger number has to stay positive. So that means I actually need a negative 2. Now make the backwards box. Remember, really what you did is we just rewrote this equation right here. So instead of 7x, we're going to rewrite it as negative 2x and 9x. So when you fill in the box, 3x squared goes in the first box. Negative 6 goes in that last box. That was a common mistake I saw on your quizzes. And then our 2 new numbers go in the other boxes, doesn't matter where, just make sure you put a letter with them. And then find the greatest common factor of each row in each column. So 3x squared and negative 2x, the GCF is x. 9x and negative 6, the GCF is 3. And again, if you need to, you can make the factor trees for these. Right here we get 3x, and then negative 2 and negative 6. The GCF is negative 2. So then let's write the factored form. So x plus 3 times 3x minus 2. Now, this time, if you look at the directions just say to factor. This does not have an equal sign, like an equal 0 on the end. So that means you are done. This is your answer right here. Check out the next example. This time the directions say solve, and I see an equal sign in it. So this is the one where we're going to have to keep going until you get a number answer. And on one like this, our first step, we actually have to get this equal to 0. So first thing we need to do is subtract 3k from each side. Remember, you always want to keep the squared term positive. So that's why I'm going to choose to move this other term to that to the left. So then we get 6k squared minus 3k equals 0. Now that it equals 0, we can try to factor what's on the left. And remember, the first thing you always want to check for is a GCF. So in this case, there will be a GCF. And remember, if you need to, you can always make the factor tree. So 6, I can split up into 2 times 3. So 6k squared is really 2 times 3 times k. And then negative 3k, negative 3 is really negative 1 times 3. So the factors are negative 1 times 3 times k. And then what they have in common, I see a 3 and a k in both lists. So we can make our 1 by 2 box. The GCF goes out front. So in this case, the GCF is 3k. And then remember, leftovers go above the box. So from 6k squared, I didn't use the 2 and I didn't use the k. So that goes above. From the negative 3k, I didn't use that negative 1. And then rewrite what you got. So we have 3k times 2k minus 1. Now be careful right here. This was an equation, so this was equal to 0, which means we are not done. So now, because it says equal 0, this is where we take each factor and set it equal to 0. So either 3k has to equal 0, or 2k minus 1 has to equal 0. And then solve each mini equation. Either k equals 0, or if I solve this other one, divide both sides by 2, or k equals 1/2. Alright, there's one more that I want you to try. And again, notice the directions. This time it just says factor. So that means we're not going to do that last step where we actually get a number answer. So, first thing to look for is a GCF. They don't have a letter in common. This one has letters and this one doesn't. And 9 and negative 4 don't have any common factors. So that means we're going to make that X box. And you got to think, because there's only 2 terms, that means we're missing a term. So remember that general form is ax squared plus bx plus c. So we have the x squared term. We have the plain number. What we don't have is b. So if it's not there, that means b is 0. So really we can rewrite this as 9x squared plus 0x minus 4. And now that you have 3 terms, now we can make that X box. So I need 2 numbers that multiply to be negative 36, and they have to add up to be 0. And remember, if they add up to 0, that means we're basically looking for the same number, just opposite signs. So in this case, it's actually 6 and negative 6. And then make the backwards box. Remember, first term goes in the first box, so 9x squared. The last term, which is negative 4, goes in this bottom box. And then we have 6x and negative 6x. Alright, now we gotta find the GCF. So 9x squared, negative 6x. The GCF is 3x. 6x and negative 4, the GCF is 2. And now work your way across. Right here is 3x, and down here is negative 2. And then rewrite the factored form. So 3x plus 2 times 3x minus 2. And in this case, you're done, because if you look back up at the problem, it says factor, and it does not have the equals 0 on the end. So this would be the answer that you'd put on the answer blank. Alright, you guys are going to work on the review sheet next. Remember, your test is tomorrow, so please use your time wisely, and there is an answer key posted on Classroom when you're ready. Bye, guys.